Jimmy, December 13th, 2024, the drone circling Loris and then heading out over the farm country. It's December 13th, about 6:45, I think, at night. We were out working on the studio, and we seen it circling really low. And so we got in the car and decided to follow it as it kind of made circles in a pattern going, starting here and moving out like that, like an orbit. And I talked about Heather's, she just got her iPhone, and it was the first time she's videotaped. And I did the same mistake on my new iPhone, which is exactly what hers is. It was a 15. I forgot to push 4K. The first time I used it, it was like, well, this is an expensive phone. She had forgot to put, and I didn't say anything, but it was the first video, so she just hit record. So it wasn't on 4K like it should have been. Nonetheless, I called you, and as I thought it was getting close to circling over your property.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was on the phone with you, I walked straight out on the porch as we were talking. I saw the drone come over to the left side of the house, flying directly south, and I watched it as I was talking to you, and I think I was explaining its direction as I was on the phone with you, and it flew just about out of sight, over just above the top of the trees as I could see them, and it turned directly south. I meant west. It flew directly west for some time until it was almost out of sight again. Then it flew north for a little bit, and then it turned back my direction, which would be east from its direction, and it flew straight toward my house and turned right over the house. And it was amazing. This thing was as big as a small SUV or a small car or mid-size sedan or something. It was a large drone. And it sounded like it had maybe a jet engine on it, a really fine-tuned jet. It didn't sound like an electric motor. It had some kind of hum to it, the best of my recollection.
I thought it was like a small turbine, like they're kerosene. I say gas, but it's fuel.
It is,
fueled turbine, just like much on a commercial aircraft. When you were a kid, maybe around 14, 15, they had these kits from Popular Mechanics. You could build your own little 20 horsepower turbine. I forget what the thrust was. It was like one of them multiplied by 5 or 10, but not near like a 20,000 pound thrust, regular commercial liner, huge engine. It was quiet, but what I seen probably like a 15 to 20 foot wingspan.
At least,
yes, and had a lot of lights on it, ton of lights and some gear hanging down. And, it's funny, we put it up, and all I did was mention there's a drone out there. And other people had seen it. People in Pawleys Island had seen 2 of them that night, and in Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach. So they were in this area. Didn't say anything about it. Didn't say it was a UFO. Didn't say it wasn't Bigfoot up there flying around. Nothing like that. But just to let people know, there's a drone out there. Take a look. Be on the lookout for them. The reaction, and I think I talked to you about this the next night. Of course, it got a huge amount of views. And the comments coming in, 50 to 60, 70% were like just, oh, I've seen one of these recently, or this is strange that no one's talking about it, this and that. 20% or 15% were funny, like the one where they had someone to put a ceiling fan in their yardstick. I bagged one of them, it's funny stuff. Then you had some really nasty comments. And it's like, I don't know where these people, what headspace they live in. They never witnessed anything. They don't have much knowledge of anything. And they were all talking about these little drones. Like you said, your son has a little drone.
Oh, yeah.
These aren't little drones. These are fixed-wing aircraft.
Absolutely. I'm very familiar with the drones because my son's actually going to college in a drone class. He's got 2 of those drones he flies around the house all the time. I'm familiar with those, and we live close to Myrtle Beach Airport, which I see a lot of planes flying over, taking off, and everything coming over the house. So I'm very aware of this. It was nothing like I've ever seen before. I know it had to be military, as big as it was, and I guess as well-tuned as it was, but it was definitely a drone, and it was definitely something I've never seen before.
When it banked, I didn't see, in the top of the fuselage and the front nose, I didn't see any places for anybody to look out, no windows, and you could see it. I do wish that it had 4K on. I wish I'd have had one of my big movie cameras, but by the time I get that set up, it would have been long gone. Yeah. It takes forever to set those up. But anything of that classification and size, the average person, when they say, well, I got drones, not those sizes, you wouldn't be allowed to fly one.
No.
But the FAA, you might be able to get it off the ground, but the FAA is going to contact somebody up the chain fast because it could be a threat. And that size, the FAA, your local towers are going to pick that up. I know there's a threshold of height, and I don't know what that threshold is. I guess it's different for different types of radar.
I think so.
But
I don't know the regulations of that. I know my son would know, but another thing is this thing flew so low and so slow. For its size, it was a large drone, but I think it was too small for a full size person to be running this thing. So that's another reason why I think it was a drone. It weren't like it was really high. It was really low and it was slow.
And you can kind of detect as far as elevation goes when you look at the horizon and you see it coming in. If it's at 3,000 feet, your degree angle it won't be 10%. It's going to be 30%. And then go up above and over. This was not. It flew maybe 100, 200, 300 feet above the tree line as it was coming across that field. And when it was over Loris, you could see the wings, you could see the fuselage, you could make it out with detail with your eyes. Your eyes is the best lens in the world. It's better than any camera. But but as we flew out, or as we drove out there to find it, it was just interesting to me. And what's interesting is my personal opinion is that it is the military because, God, I hope the military wouldn't allow foreign drones of that size to be flying in our airspace without doing something. I know our administration that's going out is whacked, and they've done some crazy stuff, like they're trying to tank the economy now by, I think he spent over $500 billion, $500 billion in 3 weeks, just handing it out and selling the border wall parts and all. Just so you can imagine them doing something or allowing something. But I think you'll find out real fast if it was something foreign in about a month and a quarter.
Yeah,
you're going to find out real fast whether it was.
So there's no way.
I don't think so.
There's no way something that size could fly around this low. And I'm talking about New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Maryland. We talking about all up and down the eastern seaboard, things like this, and especially in New Jersey, you're talking about dozens of them being seen every day. And there's no way in the world that our military, as advanced as it is allowing that to happen and not knowing what's going on in our airspace. That is totally. I think. For them to say that they have nothing to do with it and don't know anything about it and can't give us any information, I think, with the history of our government, it makes me think there is for nefarious reasons. I can't help but think that, with all the lights on it, there's no way in the world that this thing, it's not going to fly under the radar. They put all the lights on it that the FCC requires.
Right.
It's following all the rules and regulations, I guess, that the FCC would require for
like FAA.
FAA, I'm sorry. But this, there's no way that our military don't know what it is.
No, because the radar's, a radar picks up, like you said, your son has a smaller drone, like, not small, like minuscule, but for a consumer.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a foot or two across. When you're in airspace that has radar, it looks like birds. The little drones like your son has, they look like birds. So they're picking them up. It may look like a bird, but they're still picking them up. So if there's been several calls come in and say, hey, these drones are hovering over, and there was one of them beside a military base up north.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the commander got really pissed off about it. And I know the state troopers up there in New Jersey got pissed because they're not getting the information. And the thing is, if the military is doing an exercise, just say they're doing an exercise.
That's it.
And you know what? We don't need to know.
No.
We're fine with that.
Yeah.
But say that they're doing an exercise so that you know that it is your own military and not something nefarious or planning a false flag attack, because this has been the longest damn 60 days up to January 20th. That it's kind of like you've won the game, but you still have 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And the opposing team is down on your 2-yard line. You got great defense, but they're still on the 2-yard line, and they still have several plays left.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's like to me with the administration going out and coming in. That is an option is to prepare you for a false flag event.
Yeah.
Because I do know that there's some warheads there. I don't know personally. I'm not involved in it, but I've heard people talk about that were involved, that there's nuclear warheads missing from when the wall fell under Reagan.
I've heard the same thing.
And
matter of fact, Dirty Bomb, Israeli News Live. I don't know if I could say their name or whatever. I watch that a lot. He's very in the know of what's going on, especially in the Middle East. I think his wife's from the Middle East, and I get a lot of information from him. But he said several months ago there was a dirty bomb missing.
And so you don't know if it's a false flag setup or for real.
You don't.
It's like, to cause commotion, or whether there truly is one out there floating around. And why in the hell is it out there floating around to begin with?
Yeah.
But they do have sensors on top of some of these bigger drone, the fixed wing aircraft. I think they're HPGE, I think it is. It's a sensor for gases. And that would be able to detect like uranium, plutonium, those type of things. And I'm not sure that that's, if it is the military and they're out there looking out for our best interest, you can assume that it could be that they're trying to detect this before something happens, which, hey, thumbs up, high five to them for doing it. I don't care. It's just, when you see something that's that strange, to me, you're kind of living in a bubble if you don't question it or go, hey, what is this? And you go back to our ancestors. Hey, I thought I'd seen a saber-toothed tiger out there kind of wandering around. I better alert the tribe, or the enemy's approaching. I heard something, better alert the tribe. It's why we're all still here, because our forefathers had that sense. I think if we went back in time and some of the people now were back then, there'd be a lot of people that aren't here anymore. So
absolutely.
Look at something and just kind of ignore it.
Yeah, if it's something that our government don't know anything about, don't have any inclination of what it is, why don't they have somebody up there collecting some of them, shooting them down, doing something to find out what it is? It's like we don't know anything about it, so therefore you're on your own.
Well, that's the thing. When you start to do the logical deductions and you go through it really quickly, if it is outside interference, then the military would shoot it down.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, let's back up. They had a spy balloon go across the country, and what the hell they do?
Across the whole country, 20-some hundred miles, and mean Alaska and everything. So and shot it down after it crossed our, into the.
Let's put it this way: if the Trump administration was in and it was foreign, it would have been shot down immediately. Yeah. But all you have to do is shoot one down, get the chips out of it, get the communication out of it. You'll know where it came from, what it was, and also why can't they follow it? Where's just put an Osprey up or a helicopter and just follow it.
It has to come up. It has to go down. It can't fly forever.
So it doesn't make sense with what they're saying. It was like the military doesn't even know what they are. I call bullshit on that.
I'll call that 100%.
Because they do know.
They do know.
Now, if it's something that they're doing for our protection, fine. The average civilian shouldn't know what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to your protection for certain aspects.
That's right.
None of us have a problem with that. But if it isn't our military and they refuse to look at it, I got a problem with that.
Yeah, if something major was to happen in the next day, 2 month, whatever, 2 months, we're going to look back on this and wonder if that was a part of what's going on now. So, it's going to get to a point where they can't hide it anymore if they have anything to do with it.
I think we're kind of there now, where it's just harder and harder to hide these things.
So once that's done, once something's done, and we find out they did know something about it, that's just going to drive more distrust in our government. We already have an enormous amount of that. So that's the last thing we need is more of that.
Yeah, we got plenty of that. So, are you under the same feeling of like you can't? It's like this time period is moving so slow till the 20th. Yeah. Just to get the one guy out and get somebody else in, get a new administration in.
It is crawling. You never know what to expect from day to day.
No.
You don't.
But it is funny. I had to go into Costco again today. And I've always said before, like when we were doing this before, I said, walk into Costco. People should be smiling and happy. They're all living, most of those people are living well. A lot of them here are retired with big retirements, getting all kinds of goodies from around the world, and there was no smile on the faces. I went in today watching again because I'm always watching people. A good 25 to 30% of the people were smiling and talking. And I do think that it's because there's a feeling of hope.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing what a little glimmer of hope will do to a person's soul.
Yes.
It is.
We were listening, or I don't know whether we were listening or reading something. Was we listening or reading something, Heather, about the brain shrinking with prisoners? There's a book. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's in the book. One of the people that watched this and that came to the Freedom of Speech Symposium, I'm hoping to get him on the show. I'm not going to say his name in case you don't want it saying, but he sent me a book. And we were reading the book we were on the way over here, and Heather wanted to read it too, so she reads it while I'm on my way over here, which is really cool. I get to listen to it while I'm driving, and she reads it, so we read a chapter a night. Was talking about the studies in neuroscience of when a prisoner is put into isolation, the brain shrinks. I mean, it physically shrinks.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't doubt that, because it limits a person's ability to reckon with the world. You know?
So the more we go into isolation, the more we don't communicate with one another, the more, we used to have potluck dinners. I don't know if you did when you was a kid.
We did, absolutely. Yeah.
Like on a Sunday or something.
Yeah,
and everybody made their favorite dish, and it was we don't do that anymore.
Just a community event. Everybody got together and talked over old times. And yeah, absolutely. I remember those very well.
I was talking to a guy he's a real artist. When I say a real artist, you have some people who throw blobs of paint at a wall and call themselves the artist, or
duct tape a banana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got a new one up for sale. It's an apple.
Oh yeah.
So it's only for $8 million if anyone's interested.
Oh man.
And I use special duct tape. Wow. 2 different colors.
I wish you luck with that.
I was wondering if you wanted to buy one.
No, just post it on Facebook and I'll share it.
Okay. So, but he's a real artist. I mean, he carves real carvings, real paintings. When I say real, I mean, it takes a lot of skill. It's not someone just putting a line on a piece of paper and calling it art. And we were talking about, now I got off on that and I don't even remember what I was going to say about it. We were talking about he leans more traditional conservative, and so do I. And I perform my own art. You see the buildings you build and the furniture you make, or the movies you make, the food I make. It's all art. It has an aesthetic purpose to it. Yeah. Really, over the last 60 to 80 years, they have segregated traditional or a little bit conservative artists to the fringes. There's a reason for that, to me. So they don't get together, because power and unity, if they all get together, make art, make beautiful things together. Art is massively important to society, and the average person thinks it's not, but it is. Much like how many people go every year to Paris to just see the Eiffel Tower and the architecture. It's like 60 million.
Oh, man.
That's to see structures and beauty. So what impact does that have? What impact does art have? When I say art, as much as like Netflix shows or whatever's being produced, it's all art, right?
Oh, yeah.
Stimulating entertainment. What effect does that have on society? Well, if you glamorize gangster rap, and then your youth starts cussing with their pants down, hanging around, grabbing their crotch all the time, is it a wonder?
Yeah, I know.
Because that's the art form.
Well, is that just a way to change the culture? You
Right.
know, we'd mentioned that before about cultures changing and cultures clashing and everything.
Yes.
Are you trying to do away with one culture and bring up another culture? You never know. There's so many things going on. It's just
Psyops.
devious. Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
But
sir.
it's a way to, when they segregate people, they can no longer work together. And so it goes back to kind of like what we're talking about with the drone. So if you've seen which you've seen it, I think you said you work with someone or play music with someone who's seen it. I seen it. Heather's seen it. But if you have enough dissenters in the group to sit there and point fingers and call names and make it a big joke, pretty soon you're ostracized out to that's what they want. They want to ostracize you outside. So it sticks to the narrative.
Yeah.
And the narrative is the mainstream, and the mainstream dictates what comes down. In this book that the fella sent, and I knew about it, but it's a refreshing reminder that when we think of the founding fathers, you think of people all sitting around getting along. And they all had the same like mindset. And once the war was won, it was kind of peace, and everybody was starting to build this country. Quite the opposite. They tore each other apart. Sedition laws, those, which are still on the books, but it was a way to silence your opponent. It was a way to shut people down. And when you know about how this, even the West, the trip, the pioneers that went west, there was a lot of shenanigans that went on out there. They stole a lot of land. The Pinkertons stole a lot of land. And it was always this, I call it the human condition. You always have this nasty crew out here that's trying to take what everybody else builds.
Yeah.
And there's always been a fight back to a certain degree. And I think we kind of balanced it out a little bit here in the last 70 years, and we're going right back there again.
Yeah, I think so. You know, if you and I have the same goal in life, why should I create any opposition to you? You know, if we have the same goal, we should find out what you're better at and what I'm better at, and let's tackle each one of us as gift to go in the same direction. But it's not like that. A lot of people see you succeeding, they think you're getting ahead, even though we're heading toward the same goal. They'll try to sabotage you to make themselves look better. We should stop that. The end goal is to live a good life, and you know, eat decent food and try to build one another up. But that don't work with a lot of people. They just like those that's commenting about the drones. Why comment anything negative? I mean, I think people should keep their thoughts to themselves if they have any.
If you have proof of something and you can discredit it, that's fine. Let's have a debate. I'll have you come in here. We'll talk about it. We'll see.
That's what it's about.
And so you can have a debate. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'll say I'm wrong. If you're wrong, you say you're wrong, and we move on. Or maybe we're both wrong. Okay.
That's
so.
Right.
But it's the nasty. It's like you said. They tear each other down. And I was talking to someone, and it might have been Mike Benz, who was on the show, and I was telling him how, and he knew, but how important art was, and we're going back to the art side and the creation side. We can call it the left, and when I say left, I don't mean a little liberal. I'm not talking about old school liberals. I don't have a problem with them whatsoever. No. They want to go out in the woods and dress like ducks, do whatever they want. I could care less. That's freedom. That's right. Have at it. You know. So if we happen to get a glimpse from one of our drones watching by, it'll be funny to watch. But I have no problem with people like that just want complete freedom. But there's a crew over here that I call the communists, and they want to control everything and everybody. And they'll put you in prison, they'll kill you, whatever, to silence you and to shut you up. Okay, the one thing I respect about that crew is their ability and how they work together. And on the surface, they don't tear each other apart. The conservative people or the traditional people, they eat each other every day because they're always so concerned that someone is going to get ahead. Yeah. Well, that's why the left has outpaced the right by far, because they'll make sure that they all get ahead because they know that that's where the strength is.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's time that the conservative type people stop bickering and fighting on amongst themselves and tearing themselves down and build a team, a cohesive team, and march forth for good things, to build things. It takes, I've never looked at someone, when I see someone doing something big or doing something really cool, I want to support them. Even if it's just a high five or an attaboy type thing on the back, never want to tear anybody down for doing something big. That's not the way it is.
No.
Someone, you go in, and I think the smaller the towns, I lived in a big city. I lived in Scottsdale for a while, for 2 years. And it was the only big city that I ever lived in. Scottsdale's part of Phoenix, so it's like 80, 90 miles wide. It's a huge city.
Man.
But you can operate and do your thing, and no one pays attention because they're looking for they're looking at the billionaires. You step down into smaller and smaller places, and you do big things, you become a target. You become a target to destroy because, and that goes into psychology of why. And sometimes people they don't have the vision or the IQ, so they have to tear you down to make themselves look better.
Oh, yeah.
Or tear down somebody who's doing something big to make themselves look better, and in the end, it all ends up in just utter destruction. We can have a good show on that someday about a small town that I'm familiar with that just utterly ate itself to death, and it's teetering on destruction.
Small town USA, just about. You know?
And it's that mentality. And they would rather rule over. I always say they'd rather rule over a turd than sharing a gold bar.
Absolutely.
And so, and the one stinks, you know, and the other doesn't. So the other's shiny and pretty. But as far as the drones go, hey, my guess is it's the military. I would hate to think that the military would allow something like that to happen that they don't know about. So I got to go and lean that way, because I don't know for 100% sure what it is. But if it is the military and they are looking for different things like HPG, the sniffers that they have, fine. But I would say, hey, we're running military exercises or we're practicing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let people know. But when you tell the people we don't know what it is, and you're supposed to, I think we do, but you're supposed to have the top military in the world, and you don't know where these drones are coming from. It's all at once. It would be like you think you're talking to a college PhD professor in math, and all at once you realize you're not dealing with someone that can understand kindergarten math. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. You're running our chemical lab, and you don't understand basic math. But I don't think that's what it is. No, I do think they know.
There's too many in so many states. There's too many of them for them not to know.
Right.
That's totally BS. No.
And you know, when we're talking about these people who rebut like really nasty, do they ever? We did have someone in the comments say, I have to apologize, I seen one, right? We can go back to like 2020, 2021, 2022 when people are saying, whoa, on this shot, the jab. Let's give this a little more time. Let's think about everybody's going to be dead. You better take it now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't think so. Well, the people who were on that side of history and that side of the fence saying, wait, let's slow down, have proven to be right now. The ones who jumped the gun have basically been proven to be wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not wrong. I don't know. They'll make the argument that, but it doesn't hold water that everybody would have died, but there was 20 million people who didn't receive the shot. Well, then it would have happened anyway because not everybody got it. So it was a thing where it got really nasty with people. And I think I've mentioned before, I had people online that I knew. It's like, they wanted to put people. They didn't want. If the government said you're not allowed to go into the grocery store to buy food unless you're vaccinated, they were okay with it.
They were okay with you starving
to death.
Yeah, your neighbors and your friends were okay.
And now when they look in the mirror, do they ever sit there and go, "Holy shit, that's what I was wanting to do. I wanted to kill these people. I wanted to kill them." Yeah. And now it was wrong. Never an apology, never a self-reflection going, and a lot of these people claim to be Christians.
Oh, yeah.
And they're supposed to be all about self-reflection, but never do they sit there and go, man, I was way off on that. In fact, I wanted to put people in camps. I wanted them not eat.
Yeah.
I wanted to have them turn their electric off. I wanted them to turn their water off, basically kill them.
Yeah.
All because of what I was listening to mainstream media, and I'm that gullible.
Yeah,
me
either.
I've always told Heather, you can go up in the street and slap someone down physically, and in 10 years you'll be forgiven. If you make a fool of someone, you're never forgiven.
No.
So these people that I'm talking about right now, and I don't know if they're going to listen or not.
No, they won't listen.
Okay, but they have to realize they were sold a bill of goods, and they got so nasty and so vile, defending something that wasn't the truth, ready to basically kill someone to go along with their narrative. And they're the same ones who sat back and go, I don't know how the communists were able to kill people. Because you were one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were one of them.
Absolutely.
Not you. They were one of them. They're one of them wanting to, round people up, put them in the camps, and teach them a lesson.
Yeah.
So that human condition, I've often wondered, well, how do you get rid of that?
Can you? It's been here since the dawn of time.
It has.
Yeah. So I don't think you can.
It's too bad they don't have a little meter on them. We could ship them to an island. They go live over here. Other people live over here. And if you could get the right people together, like you were talking about, we're all working towards a common goal. Imagine what's possible if traditional people that just want the best for everybody. Their hearts aren't full of hate and everything else. Get together and decide to move on projects.
Yeah.
That's dangerous for the left. That's dangerous for the communists. When these people over here get together and say, hey, yeah, there's 20 or 30 of us, we're going to pitch in, we're going to do this project. It becomes dangerous over here now.
Yeah, I think about, when I think about that scenario, I think about the Amish. When they get together, they'll get several hundred of them get together and raise a barn in a day.
Yep.
It's amazing what they could do. Just imagine if you had a group of people like that. I mean, it would be awesome. Years
and years and years ago, I told you I wrote a book, and maybe I did or maybe I didn't. But I said, and I was 23 or 24, and I said, wouldn't it be great if you had 100 or 80 or 50 or 100 people in a community, and everybody build together homes, and within 12 years, 10 years, everybody will have a home paid for. I mean, they'll work and supply on the outside too, but everybody comes together to work on these projects. So when you work as a team together, you can do so much more.
Oh, yeah.
If you and I hook up to a harness and pull a log, we can pull the log a lot easier than just one of us heaving and breaking our backs doing it.
Oh, yeah.
But there's this mechanism inside people that goes, I don't want to see them get ahead. And it's like, that is so counterproductive, because all you've done, if that's the type of person that person is, they've destroyed their ability to get ahead because they've chopped their own knees off too. And in their mind, they have to go, I'm okay with everybody not doing well, than everybody getting together and doing well.
Yeah. That's a crying shame.
But so I've never understood, and it's like utopia is that close. Mm-hmm. It's that close. If people get rid of that hatred, when I say hatred, it's a lot of these people who claim love. They're the most hateful people.
Love and peace.
Yeah, love, peace, brother, and all this stuff. It's like, boy, watch out. Mm-hmm. Because the hatred comes out, and the hatred's about destruction.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So.
Yes, sir.
Well, as far as the drones go, I guess we'll wait and see.
We will. I imagine we'll see a lot more in the future. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe. We'll see.